Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. I'm going to start off with a question for you guys. I've got a little would you rather situation.
Okay.
One horse-sized duck.
Would you rather, and you have to pick one, sit and watch the entirety of the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, 2.5 hours, or get a McDonald's combo meal?
The
Wait, that's
McDonald's
The McDonald's combo meal.
McDonald's combo meal will last a shorter amount. Will inflict pain on me for a shorter period of time.
Wait, is there something I'm missing here? Like, what is a McDonald's combo meal in this specific instance?
No, that's a real thing that you can get at McDonald's right now.
McDonald's acknowledged the meme about fake McDonald's and made an official WcDonald's.
Sure. Why not?
And so like they've done with like the BTS meal and other meals, it's basically just a 10-piece chicken nuggets combo with a special sauce. And I'm not even sure if it's a different sauce than the BTS meal, to be honest.
Sure, but I mean, like, I would rather have the McDonald's combo meal then.
Yeah.
Enjoy the new McDonald's sauce. So savory and bold, it's an adventure in a sauce cup.
I wasn't sure how...
Is that the copy? Is that the ad copy?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I might go get a McDonald's meal after this, but we'll...
Just out of morbid
I don't know,
curiosity.
What is
really
the McDonald's isekai?
Some people some people really hate McDonald's, and also the McDonald's promo is kind of, I don't know.
Cringe.
Well, it sucks. It always sucks when the corporation actually acknowledges the meme, right? Because now it's not cool anymore. Like half the fun of fake McDonald's is watching the ways in which different Japanese pieces of media would make up their own fake McDonald's. And now that McDonald's is in on the joke, it's not funny anymore.
I was always more of a McDaniels guy.
The only good thing, if you look up so I actually saw the commercial for it while I was watching a basketball game in a mainstream setting, which was bizarre.
Okay.
Wait, you watched television?
Kind of. I not on a TV and with cable. I watched it through like Sling, but it does have regular commercials. And yes, I saw the McDonald's animated fake anime commercial. I do like one of the characters looks kind of like Noe from Dorohedoro, so I'll just throw that out there. But other than that, it's very cringy. But yeah, all right, that answers that question.
After your 10-piece McNuggets purchase, play Signature Move in the app and get the weekly password to unlock the secret room in the McDonald's UEFN experience created in Fortnite.
Okay, this is sounding a lot worse.
Man. Well, if that is considered part of completing the McDonald's combo,
yep,
I might take the Anime Awards.
That might be a more difficult proposition.
You have to play Fortnite.
Now through March 24th, enjoy weekly, unique anime episodic shorts and manga chapters.
Yeah.
Whether it's thrilling race or entering a portal to another world, our heroes will do whatever it takes to savor the mythical sauce to complement McNuggets.
You have to do all the extra activity.
Okay, in that case, I might put up with just 2 hours of handing Jujutsu Kaisen 1,000 awards.
I have to say, by the way, that there appears to be a concerted effort to make isekai an English word, and we must stop it at all costs.
I mean, we kind of do all of that already, right?
It's too late.
It's too late. Like, whether we like it or not. It kind of is the thing
Suicide
already.
Squad isekai.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of two great flavors that taste good together.
Well, now that I've wasted time we don't have at the beginning
you got
of the
your
podcast.
toxic sludge in my shit. You got your shit in my toxic sludge.
Yay!
So this week we're going to be talking some anime video games because there's a lot of them coming out, either already out or going to be coming out in the very near future. So we're going to do a little GLORIO Gaming No Corner this week, in addition to our regular anime talk. So that means we've got a lot to cover today. So to introduce everybody, I'm Jel. I'm joined by Iro.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
Still alive. You have not eaten too many McDonald's meals.
Nope.
And we're joined by G.
I'm also still here and not dead yet, despite Dondoko Island's best efforts to kill me.
And we are joined again by Zig.
How come we get crappy McDonald's, but Japan gets like new type burgers that are so powerful they can be sent by Charles Aznavour?
Yeah,
It's true.
it's
right.
kind of sad.
We're always getting the short end of the stick when it comes to these promos.
Yeah. On the scale of 1 to Shah, McDonald's is a Gamazabi.
We did overeat chicken for Honkai Star Rail at one time.
We did, in fact, do that. We did, in fact, eat too much fried chicken.
Yes.
Suffered on Gel's behalf.
Yeah, thank you both again for getting me a Star Rail promo ticket with that. I forget, what was the chicken place? It was
Pelicana Chicken.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, was it really called Pelicana Chicken?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Is it?
Well, isn't that the same name as the cult in Infinite Wealth?
Oh, that's Pelicana, right.
Oh my goodness, fine.
This is like Pelican with an A at the end.
Fine.
So thank you guys once again for that. Because of that, I can flex my special Chef Pom Pom profile picture in Honkai Star Rail.
All worth it,
as you can as well, G. But yeah. Anyway, well, speaking of Infinite Wealth, since you guys just brought it up, we have, like I said, a lot of anime adjacent Japanese made video games coming out in the near future. And we can start by talking about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which G and Iroh, did you both finish it now at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, of course, is the sequel to the previous Like a Dragon, which was the shift of the Yakuza series over to new protagonists and like the turn-based thing and all that.
Right, yes. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, a sequel to Yakuza : Like a Dragon. It's not confusing at all. I understand why many people just default to calling them Yakuza 7 and 8. I can't even blame people for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we reference the Yakuza games at least once per episode, so perhaps it's appropriate that we finally talk about one. So, what are your guys' feelings on it?
Not
is that a mixed?
I think the broad package overall leans positive.
I feel like you guys, like, up to about 2/3 of the way through that game, were fairly ecstatic about it. And
I mean that's kind of the thing. Is like, how does one judge one's experience, right? Like, what are you judging? Are you judging the experience as a whole? Are you judging your feelings at the end of it? It's the thing I feel about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is that it is a game that makes you want to love it. It has the game itself has these sort of like raw, like, animal magnetism that its protagonist Ichiban himself has. Where, like, sometimes you will look at a plot point in an Ichiban game and go, that doesn't make any sense. Or you completely sidestepped an important plot point. But oh, Ichiban, you're just so charismatic. Your smile's so large. Your heart's so wide. I can forgive you again. And
Puzzle his hair.
Yeah, and in many ways, Infinite Wealth does in fact manage to sustain itself for like a good 2 to 3/4 of its runtime just purely on Ichiban's charisma as a protagonist. And then you remember that he is not the only protagonist in this game, right? That the time spent in Infinite Wealth is split by the end fairly evenly. I would say 50-50 between Ichiban and Kiryu Kazuma. And the thing that's really kind of frustrating about Infinite Wealth is that both halves of the plot actually put forth really, really interesting premises. They are getting into some really interesting themes, some very cool storylines to explore in the context of a video game. Like, I truly do mean it when I say there are no video games at any scale that are written like to the same like keen edge of a really good Yakuza game. These are games that like are willing to like explore, your ripped from the headline stories about modern society. It is willing to get into like the like explore masculinity in really interesting, valuable ways instead of the way it is kind of often portrayed or seen in a lot of like video games.
Mm-hmm.
It is game like the thing I was talking about with Eero is like in many ways the Yakuza games might be the only games I can think of that are genuinely concerned about like portraying friendship. Like I don't just mean like we're members of a JRPG party. I mean exploring like what does it mean for two people to be friends, and
right,
all that stuff is like really valuable and really well done. And then you kind of reach this conclusion towards the end that even in this 100-hour video game, that still wasn't enough time to adequately explore like each protagonist's like 5 disparate plot points.
Right. And it's I like Kiryu as a character, but it is particularly galling for this to be a problem with this game after what Yakuza 6, how many years ago, was touted as like the end of Kiryu Kazuma's story. And then in 7, he shows up for the appropriate amount of time, which is about 30 minutes, to say, it's your story now, Ichiban. And then we still got Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name last year, which was 50 hours about how this is the end of Kiryu's story. And so to go into the second game about Ichiban and have half of it be, and this is the end of Kiryu Kazuma's story, again.
I wonder if they got spooked. Like, does anybody know what the sales were like for Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon, in Japan, at least?
So this is sort of the interesting tidbit. My understanding is globally, 7 is one of the best-selling entries in the franchise, but domestically, it ranks fairly low.
Okay.
I mean, not to lean on stereotypes or anything, but Sega seems like a company that cares mostly about what happens in Japan at this point, right? Especially with
this is
Like a Dragon, which is an extremely Japanese-focused
right, and so there is that interesting tension where it seems that the global audience has largely embraced Ichiban as a protagonist, but his hold in Japan is not as solid as Kiryu's.
Right.
I will say they did announce that Like a Dragon 8 has already sold 1 million copies, making it the fastest selling entry in the franchise. It will likely be the best selling entry in the franchise. And that is a game that does feature Ichiban very prominently. It also happens to feature Kiryu very prominently. So the question of what does that mean for... Okay, in many ways, maybe the thing that like gets to the heart of like our feelings about Infinite Wealth is that even if it itself was like a fairly good time for most of its run, it is one of those entries in the franchise that makes us longtime fans of this series sort of anxious about this franchise's future.
Yeah. I think particularly, like, I enjoyed the shift to, like, an RPG style. I like it. I like how a lot of the... not even a lot of... the entire party does return in Infinite Wealth in some form or another. And I like that continuity because I like these characters. I like how they're friends with Ichiban and how they become friends with Kiryu. But then I look into that hazy future and go, how do you make a third game with... because now you have set the precedent. You're going to bring back the whole party. How do you make a third game where you still have to have like 8 more characters as part of the squad that we're buddies with, and make that like compelling, like gin up a compelling plot for that? And that is something they're already struggling to do in Infinite Wealth.
Yeah, my in many ways, my hopes and fears with the Yakuza franchise going forward is going to, unfortunately, in many ways, we cannot escape him, I suppose. It will hinge on what they decide to do with Kiryu Kazuma going forward. I will say, not to spoil the end of 8, but Kiryu Kazuma's fate by the end of that video game is left in a fairly uncertain place, but also metatextually, it's not that uncertain. They'll never let the man die. But he is left in a place where it's like, oh, maybe we can finally move on.
Right.
But also, will Sega let us?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's so weird because, like, I mean, we love the games with Kiryu, but then it's just that they're dragging it out, right? I mean,
there are so many games with Kiryu. Is the problem?
There have been a lot of games with Kiryu, right?
Yeah,
like,
so it's
even
like,
leaving aside the 6 main franchise entries.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't help now that we're in like a Attack on Titan season 3 final season part 4, whatever situation, right? But
I've not played the game, but I'm going to take a bold leap of logic here and suggest that perhaps he did not, in fact, erase his name.
I mean, the man who erased his name is all about how he did, in fact, erase his name.
Except, did he really? You know what I'm guessing at there. I think that corporations are not good at making big artistic decisions, and I think that as long as Kiryu continues to be a reliable seller of video games, he will continue to appear in them, whether that is in the lead of the Yakuza franchise or somewhere off in his own sub-series remains to be seen, but I would not hold out too much hope for him being permanently put to the sidelines. But
I have a question that maybe you have an answer for, G, which is tangentially related. So in the recent Ishin Kiwami, is there any Ichiban analog character in that? Did they add somebody?
Sorry, in what?
In the Yakuza Ishin Kiwami remake that was recent.
No, I don't. Or he does. Well, I mean,
if it's like a side thing.
He appears in a mini. He appears as like a mini game in the sense that, like,
sure.
In the same way that Kiryu can become a Dondoko Island villager.
Right. Okay.
Like, not actually plot relevant. Mm-hmm. It is just RGG Studios reusing every asset they have. They're like, well, we already made Ichiban, just put him into this.
I think before they make a 9, they will come up with some sort of...
Oh, another historical game?
Yeah, or some kind of AU, right? Where they can include both safely.
Dead Cells 2, baby.
Yeah, why not?
High school AU.
Binary Domain 2.
Wait, was that made by the Yakuza guys?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's why Binary Domain's plot is
wacko.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so
because you're asking the Yakuza writers to write like speculative fiction.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I guess that's my prediction is before they make a 9, they will make something that can still safely include both Ichiban and Kiryu.
I will say, just to be clear, like, I think we both broadly did enjoy our time with this game. Like Ichiban is such a lovable protagonist. Like, the man, like, he might actually be the best video game character, like, ever. Like, I cannot help but love that man as much as I do. He is just what a kind, gentle, empathetic, but also extremely stupid person.
Mm-hmm. This golden retriever of a man.
Yeah, and again, that man carries that weight on his shoulders for like a good 70 to 80 of those 110 hours I played.
Mm-hmm. I think it's easy to like make a protagonist who is just like pure heart, like they're so good and they do the right thing always or whatever, and like have it be really hokey or uninteresting. But I think with Ichiban they make it work because of all of these trappings around him.
Right. I mean, there was like, there was that post on co-host a while back that was like, like a true sign of like adult writing is a character who insists on doing good and being a kind, generous person in spite of like every tragedy and struggle dealt to them, right? And like that is basically Ichiban in a nutshell, right? Is that it's not just that he is a good and kind person, it's that he is a good and kind person despite the fact that him being good and kind fucks him over 99.9% of the time in Yakuza games. Like, he has never been rewarded for being a good person. Like, it has almost always universally led to, like, deeply personal tragedy or suffering on his part, and he still insists on being that man.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big difference between, a lot of hero characters who, just solve everything by beating the bad guy, right? And there's no problems. Everyone lives happily ever after, kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, but how is the multiplayer?
I can visit other people's islands in Dondoko Island.
Oh, so it's Animal Crossing. Got it.
Did you ever actually do that?
I did it twice.
Okay, I never bothered. I was like, I don't want to see other people's islands. I'm just...
I did it twice to understand what it was like, and it is just exactly what you think it is. So
sure.
All right. Now, you guys, one more thing. You guys did say this as the greatest sub-story of all time.
Oh, man.
In it.
Oh, dude. I mean, yeah. Dude, there's a sub-story in this game. I'll just say the name of it, Let It Snow. And the people who've played the game will understand that sub-story is the perfect encapsulation of, like, everything that makes the Yakuza games good.
Yeah. I saw the like collection of screenshots. I don't remember which one of you posted it.
I think that was me.
Like just totally out of context screenshots from it. I'm like, I mean, I've only played a couple Yakuza games, but I immediately could piece together like, yep, I get it. I get it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I mean, overall, it sounds like you guys have somewhat mixed feelings, but mostly positive. About the game, and perhaps we're a little uncertain on where we're going. I mean, I would say, the past couple entries have been pretty unpredictable anyway, right? Like, I don't know if anybody saw the switch to turn-based coming and all that, so like,
right,
who knows? But maybe that also means they're going to be content to kind of keep reusing their assets for another 10 years. Who knows?
Okay, so we'll let them do what they do.
I mean, we are getting at least one more Yakuza game set in Hawaii. I can guarantee it.
Yagami goes to Hawaii.
Yeah. Got to use the... you get a Judgment game in there, right?
Yeah.
In Hawaii. I would almost be shocked if that doesn't happen. So. All right. So, let's move on to talk about Granblue Fantasy Relink.
Tell us about the other game here about heroes defeating the villains through the power of friendship.
Oh, God. So, this is the long-awaited spin-off from Granblue Fantasy. It's an action RPG spin-off that has been in development hell for... I think it was first announced in 2016.
Something like
what feels like a full console generation.
This was originally a Platinum game, right?
Yeah. So, which is funny because, so if you do the math, Granblue Fantasy, the original game, comes out 2014. It's about to hit 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
Relink gets announced in 2016. I honestly don't remember if it was before or after Versus that it got announced, or maybe the same time.
I think it's before.
It's probably before. And it just came out last month in 2024. So Granblue Fantasy has existed for 10 years, and Relink has been in development for 8 of those years.
Has it only existed for 10 years?
Yeah.
That's long for a gacha game.
Well, yes, but I feel like Granblue's been around forever,
so...
But considering how flavor of the week gacha games tend to be, I'm kind of shocked that it's made it all the way to 10 years.
A lot of games from that era are not around. There's like FGO and I don't know what else, but
I mean, what are you talking about? I play Rage of Bahamut every week.
I think that might still be going in Japan, but that's shut down in the US real quick. But anyway, we can't get into that.
Well, Jel, tell us, was Relink worth the wait?
Was it worth waiting 8 years? Probably not, but it's a good game. I want to start with that because,
of course, yeah,
it is a like I give it a rock solid 8 out of 10 action RPG. Like you're gonna have fun playing it. As Zig alluded to, it started out as a Platinum Games, so they did work with them in some capacity in the beginning, and you can tell in the combat system, it feels very nice to play, like a Platinum Games type of situation. I was surprised, structurally speaking, it's also a lot more action focused. This is not an open world game at all. This is an action game primarily focused on combat.
I do believe the Platinum employee who was like directing the game stayed director at Cygames.
Oh, okay. They just took him into the Cygames, yeah. So there's some of that DNA, but there's a lot of other DNA too. In a way, it kind of feels like if that's your sort of foundation of like a Platinum action game, even the non-story quests, like you get a grade and everything, just like you would in a Platinum game.
Just for clarity, does this follow the main characters like Gran and company, or is this kind of a side story that is only loosely connected to the gacha game?
It does include the main cast, but it's like the equivalent of like an anime movie where there are often some
sure. Yeah.
Right, completely
I was about
unrelated.
To ask that, yeah.
So they make the obligatory cameo, but
yeah. No, they are the main characters, but it's like the story has nothing
We're
to do
having
with
an
the main
adventure, like a big budget adventure over here.
Yeah. Yes. Big budget side adventure.
Oh, you meant like an anime original movie, like all those One Piece movies that are out of continuity.
Yeah, something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fusion Reborn.
So, yeah, and actually, I mean, that's kind of...
Adolf Hitler showing up is canon.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone to go to theglorioblog.com and read the post I read about, or I wrote about this, kind of talking about one of my main problems is it doesn't quite capture the feeling of Granblue Fantasy for your average, newcomer, because they dive like right into, like, they don't introduce the characters or anything. They just assume you know who these people are and like what's going on, and even if their story isn't like, if this isn't connected to like the main story, they kind of just expect you to know the characters already, and they never really have time to like just like chill and hang out, which is most of the fun of Granblue.
This is sort of like an issue with all gacha spin-offs / adaptations, right? Of just, they are for the people who play the main thing, and generally do not try to onboard anyone else, right?
Yeah, unless it's like the anime, they actually start from the beginning,
right.
But which that's also common for gacha adaptations. But yeah, game wise, it's like either they're going in a completely different direction, or they just assume you've played the main game. So that was a little disappointing. But yeah, mechanically speaking, it's fun. It's got that core combat. There's a lot of other elements that kind of almost like this. In some ways, it kind of feels like a little bit also like a Tales game, because you've got a full party with you, and everybody has like their own skills that you're comboing together and everything. And then once you finish the story mode, it kind of turns into like a bit of a Monster Hunter type of thing.
Of course it does.
Where you're the end game is like you have a quest board, and you can go replay quests to farm for the parts you want to build the weapon you want and that kind of thing.
Sure. When you say that you've got like multiple characters with multiple skills, are you playing like one character at a time and real time switching, or is it like...
Well, yes. So yes and no. So you are playing one character, but you are not switching them real time.
Okay.
You have to pick before the mission starts who you're going to be. But but that makes it so you can beforehand work out your party composition, who's going to be your healer and your tank and all that kind of thing.
And so presumably all the characters you don't pick are played by AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Or I haven't done it, but there is multiplayer in the end game where you can get real people playing your party. Again, kind of like a bit of a Monster Hunter vibe to it. So yeah, I mean, like it's mechanically fun. The game looks beautiful, which I would kind of expect at this point, and it is cool.
Is this a PS5 exclusive?
No, it's on PC as well.
Oh right, but it's strictly current gen consoles.
I don't know if they I don't know if they made a PS4 version. Originally, they were supposed to. It was because PS5 didn't exist when it was announced. I don't remember if they actually made a PS4 version. I know it's definitely on PS5 and PC though. You can get it on Steam. But so like mechanically, it's good. It looks beautiful. The story mode is terrible.
I've confirmed it is also on PlayStation 4.
Okay, so they somehow managed to make this thing run on PlayStation 4. Okay. The story mode's kind of terrible. It's a very like basic evil priestess going to destroy the world to save it type of thing. And they make me make friends with Kenjiro Suda. Everyone goes back to our curse of Kenjiro Suda. He becomes like the main guy basically in the game who has to save your ass all the time, and then he joins you at the end. And
he's new for this game, right?
Yeah, he was original for this game. He's not in the old one.
So are you saying that Granblue Fantasy Relink broke the Kenjiro Tsuda curse?
I don't know if I like it enough to say it broke the curse, but because in a way, I was kind of disappointed with it coming from my perspective. I think somebody who just like buys Granblue Fantasy Relink with no other baggage will think, "Hey, this is a very solid 8 out of 10." Action or RPG with fun, colorful characters and good gameplay, right? But I have other baggage,
right?
I'm bringing into it. So
speaking of that other baggage, what sort of sweet power ups for the gacha game do you get if you buy this?
I don't remember what they gave you because a lot of things happened all at once. Because also Granblue Versus gave out a bunch of free stuff and it kind of all blended together to me. You do get a special outfit, which is the most important thing, because you can get the new outfit from Relink in the old game. And I think they gave you a lot of. I can't even explain. I'm not even going to explain what the materials are.
You get stuff.
You get stuff that would take you like. You get stuff that would probably take you like 6 months to farm. So it's pretty nice. I'll put it that way.
And all for the low price of $70.
Yeah. Well, you also get a nice game attached to it, I guess.
Concentrate on what's important.
So yeah, I think it's worth playing on its own merits for sure. And it just like I said, from my perspective, as far as it being an introduction to Granblue Fantasy and kind of capturing the kind of fun, silly fantasy slice of life magic that I like about it. Perhaps not quite there. So for more in-depth thoughts on that, you can go read my post at theglorioblog.com. Okay. Let's talk about... So this game is going to come out next week, but there was a demo, and I wanted to talk about the demo, Unicorn Overlord. This is the hot new SRPG by Vanillaware, where they are taking a lot of inspiration from past games and apply, and of course it's got the beautiful Vanillaware art style applied to it. But this is, I personally love the demo. I think you played it, and Ira, you started it. I don't know if you resumed it, but
I did not finish the demo. I played a bit of it, and then got sidetracked by other things. But I did enjoy what I played of it.
Yeah.
Yes, so, I finished the demo, or I did not finish the demo. I ran out of time.
Yeah, you reached the time limit. Yeah. So the demo's the demo's pretty generous. So if anybody's interested, it carries over to the main thing. So they let you play, I think, five real-time hours, so
yes,
like not counting menu time and stuff. So I ended up playing like 7 or 8 hours total.
Same.
And it's just gonna carry over to the main game if you play it. So it's worth checking out if you're interested. But yeah, this is another game where we can start with maybe one base game as the comp, but it's clearly drawing inspiration from a lot of other places. So
sorry, did you say one based game as the comp?
No, I didn't have a D at the end. One base game as the comp. So I was kind of surprised. Like what I would say the core of it is like ogre battle.
Yeah, so I think
I have
the
not
interesting
seen
thing,
that in a long time.
right, to
And
bring
then-
up about Unicorn Overlord, right, is I think when it was first revealed, we all went, oh, Vanillaware's making a Fire Emblem.
Yes.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
like sprite-based, fantasy, turn-based RPG. And then you started seeing, like, the RTS elements creep into the trailers, and some of the dialogue, you went, oh, that's a tactics ogre, clearly.
Yeah.
And then we saw the actual combat.
Mm-hmm.
And as you say, Jill, that's when people were like, oh, this is an ogre battle.
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, Ogre Battle is more real-time strategy RTS kind of game, although it is a little more unique because each unit is in itself a JRPG party.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when the units bump into each other, so you command them to go somewhere and everybody moves at the same time, and when they bump into each other, they fight. And then when they fight, it's like automatic battles based on your parameters. You're not actually like putting commands or anything.
I guess to like
you compared this to like Yggdra Union, right?
Yeah, definitely kind of a little bit of that vibe. If anyone remembers the hot GBA release, Yggdra Union.
It's on Steam now. They put out a Steam release.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's
like,
another
I think,
close comparison.
Yeah,
but I think there are other influences in there too. Like I think the character designs and overall aesthetic are very Fire Emblem. It's Vanillaware art, but like the actual like designs and what the character.
Yeah, it's very like the thing I would say about Unicorn Overlord is the reason why I think people compare it to Fire Emblem is because it is very anime storybook fantasy, right?
Yeah,
like you have the blue-haired prince, on a mission to liberate his kingdom. You have you got knights on horses, you got mages and clerics, you got warriors and Viking berserkers and spearmen, the whole like fantasy turn-based strategy knight.
You have a max level knight old man guy that eats up all your XP in the beginning.
I think as well, like unless you're very deep into the hole, so to speak, there just aren't that many modern examples of turn-based strategy RPGs, really. Certainly not ones that are as big or as well-known as Fire Emblem, which, has kind of moved to being a borderline A-tier Nintendo franchise at this point. So,
right.
I think especially, for younger players who, perhaps missed, because the golden age of the genre was really, late SNES, early PS1 kind of, so I think that there just aren't that many reference points to draw these days.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the thing I would say, I guess maybe we should probably talk a little bit about like the mechanical systems that make this game so interesting. I think compared to a lot of its contemporaries, right, is like kind of the big thing with Unicorn Overlord is that as Jell alluded to before, each individual unit you command in Unicorn Overlord is unto itself a bespoke squad, essentially. And you build these squads by mixing and matching your various individual units and kind of placing them on a 3x2 grid to, basically set up their formation. And additionally, because the battles play out automatically, it's going to get confused because I say I'm going to be using unit and character interchangeably here, but every character has their own individual skills that will, they have like, the specific abilities that they do, but also like these sort of like hard counter, like, oh, this does double damage against cavalry, or oh, this hits everybody in the front row. And deeper than that is you can program there's a rudimentary programming system where you can set the parameters, the AI parameters of each individual character. So, for example, you could set it so tell your archer to always target flying opponents, right? You tell your warrior who wields a big armor-smashing hammer always target knights.
So
right?
It has gambits, basically.
Yeah, kind
essentially.
of. Yeah.
Like you could set it so that your cleric only heal when an ally is lower than 50% HP. Stuff like that. It's really fascinating. And so since each character has this like kind of bespoke programming system, then the really fun complexity, I'm sure that Gel got into as well, is like, oh, and they just gave him like 20 units, and now I get to spend the next hour mixing and matching my little toys to figure out
building
like,
my deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Find those team synergies. Yes,
right. For example, for me, it's like I found at a comp where like, there is a character class, or there's a class called the Mercenary, and their whole thing is they're slow, but they always launch a counterattack if anybody on their team gets hit. And then there is the Hoplite, which is like a heavily armored tank class who can block incoming attacks that target allies other than him, right? And so it's like, and that then there's the Witch class who has an ability where before an ally attacks, it imbues that attacking ally's next strike with magical damage in addition to physical damage, right? And so it's like you start putting together these like really fun like micro synergies,
these like cascading combos, right?
Yeah. And it's just and in some ways it's more fun to watch it play out automatically because it's like, I set that up. Like they're doing this because I made them do this.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we talked about this the other day, G, but it's like in it's like a Fire Emblem, for instance, where you were sort of the de facto tactician of the army, where you are directing in these individuals left and right into choke points around, etc. But in something like Unicorn Overlord, because it gets into this granularity of how your teams are set up and stuff, it's like a different texture that simulates more like the strategy of forming your army rather than just the tactical level of go here, you're building your army out instead of just recruit a new guy and then that guy goes over there to that choke point. It's right. I got a new guy. How does this affect all the rest of my team?
Exactly.
Where can they go?
Like that has been like by far the most fun thing about Unicorn Overlord is every time I get a new class or a new character, I get to do it again. I get to go, oh, okay, this character can do this. Well, like how does that interact with the like prior synergies I had already created?
Mm-hmm.
Or like even battle to battle, like every battle you can see, oh well, I'm going to be fighting a lot of flying enemies in this one. I should have a lot of archers, and then you can kind of tweak your teams even per mission, right? So you're just like when we said before, the demo was 5 hours real time. That means we spent 40% more time just being in menus and and tweaking all this stuff, right? So like that is a good chunk of the game, of just, and if you're sickos like us, then yes, this is fantastic. So
Mm-hmm.
I love all that kind of team building, finding synergies and combos and all that. And this is just what we were getting out of, like I said, the first couple hours. Like
yeah.
So representing the non-sicko side here, I guess, like how's the fluff, so to speak? How is the story? How is the world building? Because for me at least, and I think quite a few people, one of the draws of Fire Emblem is how it mixes kind of like the quite serious tactical turn-based stuff with kind of character and story building around that. And also I think perhaps, to me at least, that has been something of a weakness in Vanillaware's previous games. So obviously we can only say a limited amount from a demo, but do you get a good vibe from that kind of thing?
Very operatic storytelling is how I would describe it.
A little poke-faced, perhaps?
I would say... So the thing is, like, I have enjoyed like the writing and style of dialogue on Unicorn Overlord, but it is very like storybook fantasy, right? It is the righteous prince is here to liberate this land held in the dark claws of dark evil or whatever. It is definitely it is not the most sophisticated storytelling I've ever seen. In fact, it is probably one of my main critiques is like So one of the things about Unicorn Overlord that they established early on is that, the way that the usurper general was able to take over the land so quickly is that he possesses the dark magic of mind control. He can enslave former allies to become his thralls.
That was really weak, that part. Yeah.
Like, as somebody who loves Tactics Ogre specifically because all of your opponents have informed politics, it's kind of a weak choice to just like shrug your shoulders and go, it's mind control. He's not actually evil. He's just possessed. And it's like, like the great thing about like a Tactics Ogre, right, is the like, what has brought us to violent confrontation here is not necessarily just like animosity, but like the history of our politics and ideals clashing.
Tactics Ogre is like, maybe you were justified in killing this person, but they are also probably a better person than you. Like,
yes.
Whereas there's none of that conflict in Unicorn Overlord. It's like, and this is a good guy that got mind controlled. It's not really his fault. So, whatever.
Like, I would definitely say, like, if the thing you loved about, like, for example, 13 Sentinels, right? Vanillaware's previous release is like, it's really sophisticated, heartfelt storytelling. You're probably not going to get as much of that in Unicorn Overlord, I think.
I will
say, a much more systems-driven experience.
Yeah, I will say, I will add one thing, which we didn't really get to experience in the demo. It does have the Fire Emblem pair up your teammates to become friends and maybe more kind of systems in it.
Right, it does literally have that, doesn't it?
so there is. So you do at least have the fun of trying to hook up your teammates and yourself with other characters, but we don't really see that in the demo. So I don't know how. It didn't seem like it was a very in-depth system at all, like with that. But and I will say too, the actual like I love that brand of very flowery operatic dialogue that they do have in here. I find that entertaining, and the voice acting is good, and obviously it looks beautiful because it's Vanillaware, so there is that as far as like outside of the mechanics. But yeah, I think you're really playing this game for the
mechanics,
the mechanical parts of it primarily. But the other parts are solid, but I don't think those are the reasons why you would want to play this game.
I will say, actually, when I mentioned that previous Vanillaware games have not had like great narrative, I must admit I forgot that they did 13 Sentinels. So,
excluding that,
yeah, I mean, obviously I was not thinking of that. But when we talk about like Dragon's Crown and Muramasa and all of that stuff, so it sounds super intriguing. You guys got really into it, which obviously I think is a good sign. So when's the full game due out?
March 8th.
Okay, so soon then.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's like a couple days after this podcast will go out, right? So yeah, and again, the demo's out, it's free, and it carries over, so there's really, if it is at all interesting that sounds at all interesting to you, I mean, it's something you can just try yourself with no consequences. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. All right.
Yeah.
So
I've got two more small game things to say. First of all, friend of the site, Ben Hewer, aka Yotsuben, his podcast for about the Ace Attorney series, Updated Autopsy Report, is heading into Ace Attorney 6, Spirit of Justice. They just started doing that. Go support them.
Yep.
And also on co-host, I'm doing a Let's Play of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the 7th Stand User fan game, which I don't remember I talked about on the podcast before, but
I don't think we've mentioned on the podcast yet. No.
Yeah, but go check that out.
Yeah.
If you like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Your co-host literally just being at Iro.
Yes.
IRO. So, yep. Definitely go check those out. But yeah, I mean, a lot of we haven't even gotten to. We were thinking about getting to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but nobody's actually had a chance to play that yet. we may revisit that, but that's coming out.
Thankfully,
or that's out
most of
now.
us don't have PS5s.
Yeah,
so.
Aqua was gonna get it. So
Yeah.
I cannot even exaggerate how fucked I would be right now if I could.
Yeah, listen.
Do they have a PC release date?
No, but it's an open
Nope.
secret. It's going to happen.
Yes, of
So
course.
yeah, check back in 1 year for our Final Fantasy VII Rebirth impressions.
I know I've been tied up with Honkai Star Rail with not only the big update that came out recently, which was fantastic, but I've now gotten into their closed beta program, which I'm legally not allowed to talk about. But
I will say that I'm very excited that this game will finally get into the meat of Final Fantasy VII, and by the meat I mean infuriating mini games.
Hell yeah!
Yes, yeah. My favorite thing I linked was I linked to you guys, but it's been the Cloud playing piano, different things. People have been making him play different things.
The riff to Still Dry was a particularly good one.
That was my favorite one, but there's been a lot of those.
Can anybody remember if this section of the game will have the bit where Red 13 dresses up as a soldier?
I believe they did show that.
Oh, did
in
they
a
show
trailer.
it? Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just because
Yeah.
that is a standout moment of the original game for me, just because it's so dumb.
Yeah. Yep. So a lot of not just video games, but specifically anime adjacent video games to play these days. So, all right, let's get back to talking about anime.
Must we?
Yeah. Most of these are pretty good.
Anime's good.
Let's talk about Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. I'm not sure I have...
Speaking of video games...
I'm not sure I have much to say about these episodes. Like, they spent 2 episodes basically figuring out how to kill Frieren, because if we recall, we left off with the duplicate Frieren blocking their way to the bottom of the dungeon.
It turns out the answer is shoot a really big beam at her.
Yes, right. It's basically... Yeah, go ahead, G.
Yeah, I will say, like, Frieren continues to be an example of, like, man, how much good production can just paper over.
Oh yeah,
like a week stretch of like the story, because like
some of those battle scenes are incredible, like the amount of kinetic,
incredible sequence of Frieren blasting all the high level spells everywhere.
Right. The scene where it's like, oh, Frieren's only been casting up to the 3rd level this whole show, and against her greatest opponent herself, she's like, fuck it, I'm opening up with power word kill, you know?
Right.
Also, like even some of like the lesser mages have had like really impressive battle sequences.
Yeah, for sure. Like
everybody's just kicking and flipping, and the camera is swooping around.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of credit must go to like this. To Madhouse and this team, they have, because Aaron and I kind of checked a couple of like pages from this like arc, and like just comparing like a fight in the manga, which is like a page of like kind of really stiff looking characters like blasting not very impressive beams at each other, and then you see the anime version of it where it's got like a fucking like 180 camera spin and a character just does like a 720 flip while they're like blasting 3 beams, and it's like I mean, look, man, like flashy lights, they go a long way to
they sure do.
Yeah,
to make
really
it
punching this up.
To making a story that when you look at it at its face is not very interesting, at least look really cool.
Right. Yeah, because as I'm sitting here thinking about what we would actually talk about on the podcast, it's like, well, they sit and talk about enchantment magic works.
This latest episode does have the flashback with Frieren talking to Serie, which I think is, good. Like it's sort of the stuff we liked about the first half of this anime, like resurfacing for a moment in this battle segment.
I think the little scene where Frieren and company discover the hidden room, which just has like some historical artifacts of historical interest in it is a nice little moment that reminds you that she's mostly focused on more important things than the certification and stuff like that. I thought that was a fun little vignette which they had there.
Like she's actually enjoying exploring the dungeon, and the certification is like something I have to do. So I mean, that aspect of it is nice. It just
I continue to be astonished at how little chemistry Glasses Dude and Crazy Girl have. Like I can feel my life force.
Gee, I'm right there with you.
They're trying.
I feel my life
so
force
hard.
ebbing away every single time.
Bad news for you.
They just reappeared in the manga.
Okay.
Like last week.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I was like, God damn it.
I had literally the exact same reaction. Like, God damn it, not these two again.
When I was watching the bit where like they're walking around the town and like she's trying to guess his personality type or whatever, I just said out loud, "My God, this is so fucking boring." I just have less than zero chemistry. I hate them so much.
All the characters that aren't Frieren and Co are just like, I mean, again, it's like me and Ear have a little bit of like manga foreknowledge, so it's like it's probably why we like Denkin the most, the old man. But like the rest of them are just. They're just guys.
I mean, Denkin's legitimately an interesting character because it's always interesting when you have an older character who has a realistic estimation of not only their own powers but their own limits as well. Like he's like an interesting foil to Frieren, but everybody else is just like such a stock shonen archetype.
Right. I mean, it's like the two girls that like Frieren teamed up with in the first test. Like there's nothing to them, you know. Like the Glasses and Evil Girl, it's nothing. Like the other trio with like Evil Twink and his crew. Like
I forgot completely forgot they existed. Yeah,
right. Like
there's nothing.
There is the dude with the incredible moustache and hair who I keep calling D'Artagnan because he looks like he stepped out of a production.
He's not even doesn't even rate.
Like, he doesn't even have a name. But
he's just there to deliver a message basically in this episode, right?
It's just to show it. Like, I mean, well, it's just like that's the thing, right? It's like if you're looking at the face of the story itself, like Frieren's never really had the capability to like handle really large, interesting ensemble casts. Like its appeal has always been the core of Frieren, Fern, and Stark, you know. And I guess that's what I mean. Yeah, like at the end of the day, like this anime is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
I mean, it's kind of where we were at last time.
Anyway,
that's kind of where we've been at with this whole arc, right? It's too many characters, but hey, flashy magic lasers are cool.
Yeah. I'm still having fun with it, you know, just on a much more base level than before.
It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to Apothecary Diaries. Last time things were heating up. How are things going with that?
They've cooled down.
Yeah, they're cooling down. Yep.
Oh, okay.
The big climactic, moment where all of the previous mysteries have come together has passed, and now it's back to pretty normal stuff. Right.
Yeah.
There's a pretty exciting scene where Mao Mao advises a dude on how best to make glue to make his paper better. You know, that bit really gets the blood going.
It's almost a little weird how quickly things taper off after the culmination of all the mysteries, and then it's just like, and we're back to what weird problem can Mao Mao solve this week? I
don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that having a little cooling off time helps. Sure. It just feels weird from a dramatic standpoint.
I think that's what I mean. Yeah, because it's like, and they kind of sidestep it by being like, Mao Mao is clearly smart enough to have put 2 and 2 together about what she saw at the end of the previous episode, but establish that she is willfully the implication she is willfully ignoring it because it's not worth it to get involved in high imperial drama, essentially. And and then it's what the second episode is kind of
Simp Central.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue that the point of that episode is kind of to get more into the the particulars of Mao Mao's socioeconomic origins, right? Like the world she comes from.
I think
some of it's very commonplace to just buy a person, essentially.
And some of that stuff about like how much does it take to buy out a courtesan, and like Lacan a few episodes ago talking about like what's the best way to reduce the value of a courtesan. Like that stuff is intentionally like a continued theme that will like
it's almost like trying to set up the like contrast of like again, we do not. I mean, I do not know the full details of like Lacan and like why he was trying to lower the value of a courtesan, but there's very much that angle of like, oh, he was like clearly trying to buy a courtesan's freedom like as quickly as possible, no matter the cost or no matter the like ethical cost. And then you are like contrast with Lihaku, who is your, like the closest thing this show has to like a dumb shonen protagonist. Who's like, I'm gonna win my beloved courtesan through hard work and guts,
through luck and pluck.
It's. I will say that episode is also like it's weirdly forward about the sexual aspect of the job, which is fine, but they've sort of danced around it up until this point. So there's kind of a slightly weird tone shift, and it's not a big deal, but it does seem weird that suddenly they're just so totally upfront about the whole thing. It's just something that struck me while watching that episode.
I did notice that, because I do feel like it's almost like they intentionally only ever showed like Mao Mao's like courtesan sisters in the more like
we're playing music and
like
go
the almost like geisha-esque like role of a high,
and then and then Lihaku they're like, so can you fuck well enough?
Yes, because
you got enough shots in the barrel.
Also the extremely weird and creepy scene where like the courtesan tries to hit on the little girl, which is
she's just got so much pent-up urges, I guess.
That makes it worse.
It's weird. It is a weird angle to take with it. It's like, she just wants it so badly. It's like,
it just like I said, like it's not necessarily bad that they're being more frank about that stuff, but it's kind of a weird tonal clash to the presentation that has gone before.
Right. Yeah, but how many episodes are left in this? Like 3 or 4, probably. And so I can see where we're gonna end, I guess. I'm like, okay, I see what
the inflection point.
Yes, I know what beat this will end on. But it should be okay.
Yeah, still enjoyable. It's definitely like sort of the slow burn of the season of like, oh yeah, that's here too, and continues to be not bad.
The faces are still excellent.
Yep.
Yes,
the most important part.
Like it's such an easy joke, but of course I'm going to chuckle a bit at like Mao telling Lihaku, well, you got to get naked. I got to check the goods. Like this is like, all right, you got a pretty good body, pretty muscular, but. Now we have to check the most important part.
How's the dick?
All right. Okay, so we have a surprise entry sneaking in on our list here. New show we haven't talked about, and that is Ninja KAMUI, which I forgot existed until you guys said you watched it. So, what? How did that go?
Weirdly delightful.
Okay.
This is what the collab between Adult Swim and Sungho Park, right?
Yes, his new studio, I think.
GLORIO favorite Sungho Park. Yep.
Yes, GLORIO favorite Sungho Park.
The easier way to describe Ninja KAMUI is that it is Sungho Park's Ninja Slayer.
Okay.
It's just what if we played Ninja Slayer straight?
So not intentionally funny.
But that makes it maybe the funniest thing I've watched this season.
Okay.
Right.
It's almost impossible to like quite adequately describe what makes Ninja KAMUI so like. As Iro and I are like of the few people on this planet Earth who actually watched Ninja Slayer to completion, we sort of felt like we were probably the most well equipped to watch Ninja Kamui. And that has worked out very well in our favor, because literally everything that happens in Ninja Kamui could have been a bit in Ninja Slayer.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, for people who don't remember Ninja Slayer, that was like the spiritual sequel to Inferno Cop from Trigger, right? Where it's like little, like, practically paper cutout animation ninja guy fighting ridiculous villains, and it's pretty funny. But this is not a comically under animated show, right?
No,
this is
in fact
the opposite.
Quite animated.
Maybe it's comically over animated.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it wasn't obvious by now, the premise is, a ninja, after witnessing his wife and child murdered by ninjas, swears revenge on all ninjas, and becomes the Ninja Kamui, I guess.
I'm hearing that there's a lot of ninjas in this show.
He does the fucking... It's so funny, because this is in the same sort of gonzo anime America that Vanishing Line was like, right? And
like, these ninjas are killing people in, like, New York back alley streets.
And so,
so it's anime America, that helps a lot.
Yeah, so it's like one of those cheapo 1980s ninja exploitation movies.
I mean, like, the character is literally introduced, like, living the life of, like, rural domestic bliss. Like, he's got, like, a farm in the
among
countryside,
the cornfields,
the cornfields, and he tunes his bike, and his son wants to grow big and strong someday, and they
plays his guitar
while the wife cooks up some barbecue on the grill.
So this is contemporary, right? It's set in the current day.
It's near future, like pseudo cyberpunk. It's the sort of setting where, like, in that same cornfield, there's like a giant, like, cyberpunk monolith, like, in the distance.
Sure.
And so, like, ninjas kill his family, and they kill him, leaving him for dead. But of course, he somehow manages to come back to life and vows vengeance on the ninjas.
And they do the fucking John Wick thing where he pickaxes open a wall, where his box has his ninja stuff, his ninja mask, and then he burns his home down.
Yeah, because he's got nothing left to live for. It's, I mean, the man, he gets, like, in the first episode, he, like, after he survives, like, his, like, murder attempt, he's wheelchair bound because he's, like, so injured from the attempted murder, and then, like, a bunch of ninjas come to finish off the job, and, like, he, like, inserts, like, a fucking ninja acupuncture needle into, like, his elbow that, like, causes his body to, like, writhe everywhere, as if he, like, triggered the right pressure point to turn him into, like, super ninja killer man, and, like, is, like, literally, like, he's like literally, like, doing, like, fucking, like, diagonal, like, karate chops, and then, like, 8 ninjas' heads fly off in sequence. It's literally a Ninja Slayer bit, except it's animated by Sung-Ho Park, so it looks really good.
Right.
He, like, punches, like, through the torso of a ninja into another ninja.
Right, it's just like,
and then, like,
picture the bit in Ninja Slayer where Ninja Slayer zooms past a dude and the guy's head pops off, and then you get the comedy blood spray straight up, and then you get the comedy explosion, like, on top.
Explosion. Now imagine it's all hand animated by Sung-Ho Park.
Yeah, but it's like, it's the exact same shit to me.
But it's the exact, yes, totally, it is the exact same shit. And so the thing I want to make clear is I don't think Ninja Kamui is being intentionally funny, but if it still makes me laugh, I guess doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds more of like a laughing with, like, gleeful laughter at how, like, ridiculous it is, right? In
episode 2, like, he meets with an FBI, like an old black FBI agent who's, like, a month away from retirement.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I'm sure there's more to this case than what's going on. ninjas, I've never heard of them or something. And of course the commissioner is like, I'm telling you right now, Mike, don't look into this any deeper. It's for your own good. And of course Mike is like, I gotta do it because I'm an old black man cop.
That's what we do here at the FBI.
And also, yes, at the FBI, which is a little confusing, but whatever. And so he meets Ninja Kamui in this dingy Chinese restaurant. And there's this really great bit where, like, the FBI agent has a gun pulled at Ninja Kamui's head. It's like, all right, you're going to tell me what's going on. What happened? Who killed why'd you kill all those people at the hospital who were, again, ninjas?
How did you kill Sweet?
Yeah, and there's this great running bit where like the conversation gets interrupted like every 10 seconds because it's a Chinese restaurant, and so some like Uber Eats delivery driver shows up to pick up an order at the front desk, and like this happens like 3 times until the last time it happens, and the FBI agent is like, "Masaka, there's no more orders." And realizes that the last Uber Eats driver is in fact a ninja assassin sent to kill Ninja Kamui.
Are you sure this isn't deliberately funny? Because
Aaron and I have been discussing this heavily. We think Sung-Ho Park and the Japanese animation crew must understand that this is patently absurd. But like the writing and dialogue is so like po-faced. It's like, oh, I think the adult like the thing we said at the end of the first episode is like, oh man, this is a 40-year-old man, like this is a Gen Xer's conception of what anime is.
Right.
Well, just like violent, like heads being chopped off.
Yeah. You know, like we think the Adult Swim side of this production must think this is the coolest shit that's ever been made.
Right.
And you know that Uber Eats driver, like, you're like, well, what does he fight with? Like, this is the part where like this show truly like becomes Ninja Slayer. Is like, all right, Uber Eats like ninja assassin, so he's wearing the like typical Uber Eats outfit with the bike helmet, and then he brings out a Kisarigama, the sickle and chain, and you're like, okay, well that's kind of an interesting gimmick to throw on top of the Uber Eats ninja part, and then he sprouts like 2 more arms out of his back, and a second set of Kisarigama come out. And then you find out that actually no, what's going on is that it is a pair of Uber Eats ninja Kisarigama wielding twins.
Yeah.
That are attacking Ninja Kamui.
This is very Ninja Slayer, yeah.
It's fucking great.
That's so funny.
Sung-Ho Park has a very strong record of making extremely stupid but kind of smart shows, right? Like,
yeah.
Vanishing Line was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and
this anime might be the closest anime I've seen in years to kind of channel that Vanishing Line energy.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. During the fight scenes, there's always an insert track during the ninja fight scenes of this dude rapping, and then like lyrics show up in the upper left corner because like they really want you to know what they're rapping about, and you know it's all like, you know, like. God, I'm trying to remember some of these lines. It's like, by the shine of my bloody blade or something.
You can feel the thunderous rage of my fists as they plunge in your brain.
Okay, so back of 8th graders exercise book rap.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm going to say that this is deliberately funny. This sounds way too intentional.
Yeah, probably. Like, there's a great bit where like he has a bag full of burner phones, just like a backpack, just
like a burlap sack, right? Like
a burlap sack of flip.
Oh yeah, that's got to be a joke.
And every like, there's a great scene where the FBI guy is like, "Hey, are you the guy? Are you Ninja Kamui? Are you the one who killed those ninjas at the hospital?" And like Ninja Kamui's like. Basically, they're trying to track his number, right? It's the whole like fucking police.
We're tracing his number, yeah.
I'm on the line. We're tracing his number, and Ninja Kamui just says no tricks, and then snaps the burner phone in half, and then takes out a second burner phone and calls the cops again.
That's deliberate. Like that is absolutely 100% deliberate.
Yeah,
This is a good season for comedy.
Yeah.
This sounds kind of amazing. Like,
a season with Dungeon, Meshi, and Bravern. This is like, okay. So far, we've only seen 3 episodes, but in terms of how hard I've laughed at something this season, this might be right up there with those 2.
Yeah.
Now, is this like, is this actually just an Adult Swim show? Like, is this like is this a Fena Pirate Princess situation where it's also other places?
Well, no, that show was unintentionally funny.
No, but I mean, it was both on Adult Swim and on Crunchyroll.
This is an Adult Swim, like they are producing it, right? Like,
yeah,
I think so. Yeah, like a lot of Adult Swim people show up in the credits.
You get the William Street Productions logo at the end. Like,
okay.
Oh
yeah, so
man,
this really is
like by Cold Rain. It's like some like primo early 2000s like Death Note OP screamo shit.
Who's the animation studio?
It's Sunko Park's new studio, which is called
E&H Production.
Yes.
Is this even anime? Like,
yes.
Is E&H a Japanese studio? Because
it's Sunko Park's
obviously not Japanese, but
he worked at MAPPA, right? Like,
yeah, no, right. I'm just saying that like this definitely seems like one of those productions that's kind of dancing on the edge a bit.
Right, but that's like saying that an anime directed by Unyung Choi is not an anime, right? Like,
that's why I asked where the studio was. Right, like I'm not necessarily.
I think I would broadly still say it is an anime,
right?
Like, first and foremost.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
sounds fun.
It is fun.
So dumb.
It sounds fun.
It's very dumb. Oh my god. Okay, so I know I'm just saying bits. There's a bit in the opening of the third episode where some like evil politician is like in his limo trying to like escape an assassination. It's like, oh no, the ninjas are after us.
Oh god, sorry.
And then like ghost hands come out of like the seat of the cars and like kills everybody in the car, like crushes them to death, right? Like you see like the blood splatter on the window, and you're like, damn, that was a hella raw way to kill a dude. And then like it holds on the car for like 3 seconds and then it explodes.
After the like bloody handprint, right? Like,
yeah. And it's like it's such overkill.
Yeah. Well, we might have to stop it there before we recount every good bit.
Yeah, it sounds like a hoot.
It is.
Sounds fun. Yes.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll have to check that one out. We'll see. I don't necessarily want to interrupt my getting back to Thunderbolt Fantasy, but we don't have time for that. Another time.
Another show that is deliberately a comedy, incidentally.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Dungeon Meshi. Delicious in Dungeon for the algorithm. So, yeah, it's a good show.
Okay.
This week we had the fight with the Undine in the past 2 episodes.
Yeah.
We got a lot of, I think, important backstory. We had
we found out
Marcial's time at Little Witch Academia.
We found out Senshi killed Wolverine and then made a walk out of his skeleton.
Yes, his adamantium walk.
Yes, his walk is immune to critical hit damage. Yeah, and so like I said, we had the Marcial backstory, and more importantly, kind of giving us more weight to her connection to Fallon and how she knows her, right?
Yeah.
And the course of which in the course of the battle, she almost dies, right? Probably the closest we've had anybody in our main party to dying yet.
Maybe? Yeah, they kind of have a good setup here where like Marcial, for like plot reasons, is basically caught alone because she is being attacked by an Undine and is the only one who still has her water walk spell active. So the rest of the party cannot come rescue her. It's a good tense setup, you know. I think these 2 episodes kind of exist like in concert with each other to like explore some interesting contrasts in like in storytelling and character dynamics. Like I think the Fallen Marcial flashback episode is really important because it really illustrates to you like how much Fallon meant not just to Laios but to Marcial as well. Like why she puts up with eating all these things she doesn't want to eat because the person she wants to rescue means this much to her. And also, in contrast, the party members that are not nearly as friendly, right? Because we are introduced to Namari, the female dwarf who was a former party member who left after Fallen's death,
I have to say that I required clarification whether she was a dwarf because she did not have a beard, and I wasn't sure if she was just a short lady.
Fair enough. But yeah, and it's like they don't necessarily portray Namari as like a villain. Like it's not like, oh, what a terrible person she is for abandoning the party. It's more like, look, she had her own circumstances, like, know, people who come to the adventure in this dungeon have reasons for being here that might be as simple as I got bills to pay. Yeah, I mean, Chilchuck.
She was like a.
Go ahead. I actually kind of feel like it might have been stronger if they did not soften that point by revealing her like secret ambition at the end. I feel like it might have been more interesting if it had just been, look, I like you guys, but also,
yeah, I mean,
I'm not up for a suicide mission.
I think it would have been fun. Like her situation is kind of like, I mean, they were more like coworkers, right? So it was like,
yeah.
I don't know, like I like my coworkers, but I probably wouldn't risk my life to go save one of their friends or something. Like
it's less that, but at the end they give her like the big montage. She loves exploration. She wants to, she really does genuinely love dungeon exploring. And I feel like that was kind of like to soften the blow of her being a mercenary. And I was like, actually, I would have been fine if you had just said that she was a mercenary.
I don't think it made it worse, but they could have just left it. They could have just left.
Well, I mean, like, there's a version of that in their party. I mean, Chilchuck explicitly says he's here because he was paid up front. He can't actually back out of the job. At least,
not without maintaining his professional standards.
Yes. If there's anything you can say about Chilchuck, he's a consummate professional.
Right, but it's not like that point is not as effective because we have already become accustomed to him as one of the party, right? Whether he is there for the money or not, to us, the viewer, he is part of the core group.
Of course.
So it's not quite as strong, and they wisely downplay it.
Yeah, right. I think the kind of overall point when we see these other parties is like you're saying, G, is like we're contrasting, right? So like you can see it emphasizes why our main party works because all of their motivations to get to the bottom of the dungeon have lined up perfectly, and they're willing to work together in a certain way that lines up. Whereas these other party members are like, these other parties that we're seeing have, there's something off with how they're bonded together. I
think a very important aspect of like introducing other parties in the dungeon is to show like how low key extraordinary Laios' party is, or how much they're beating the odds, right? Because we see they explicitly show Kabru's party, which has a very intentionally similar composition to Laios' party, and they just keep dying over and over again.
And they got more people and everything.
And the gnome party
got a big
Namari is like, well, they're just here to make a buck, right? Or they're here on a mission, right? Like they took they're here to take Robin's.
I do think it's very funny that. Like the gnomes' employer subcontracted to them, and then they subcontracted to Namari. Like some real Django Fett shit going on there.
And it kind of shows that like, to launch a mission to take down the red dragon that lurks at the bottom of the dungeon to save your fallen party member is like, this is actually not how most parties operate, right? And it kind of makes you a little bit more forgiving to like why other party members would kind of like. Again, it's why Namari would cut her losses for better or worse, right? Laios is in fact proposing a suicide mission,
right?
Essentially, if they had not just met Senshi by pure chance, this most certainly would have already been a suicide mission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's another good set of episodes for.
I think it's very, very funny that they tell Senshi he can peel the tentacle, he peels it, and then they give that the full treatment with the splash screen and the horn and everything.
Weirdly detailed Senshi.
I also would never thought to peel and eat a tentacle like a banana, but
certainly not. Yeah,
begging you, like, wherever you are, the person who works on that show's sound, make that sample available. We need the thing.
Yes, I know, right?
Just so we can put it over the most inappropriate things imaginable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Shout outs to the great Kai Igarashi bit in the Undine episode.
In general,
yeah,
there's so much good animation across these two.
Oh
episodes in general.
Just the part where Marcille is falling after she rocket jumps herself, and then like Laios and the crew have to catch her, and God, just that fucking straining face on Chilchuk.
Yeah, I was gonna say some real good Chilchuk.
Excellent stuff.
Very good. But yeah, great animation. Like you can really see a lot of like the kind of, if he didn't touch these scenes like himself, very much the like proteges of the Yoshinari school of like beautiful blobby liquid animations and smoke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Excellent stuff. Continues to probably be the most consistently good show of the season, right?
Most reliable show this season, yep. Okay. Let's move along and talk about Sengoku Youko.
Yeah.
Things are going down.
A lot of things are going down.
Some things going down.
Hyperspeed.
Yeah, I guess, like, as somebody who is not familiar with the source material, my impression of this last couple of episodes was a lot of stuff happens, and it like, the thing is, Mizukami is in general quite a fast-paced author. You know, he goes for the jugular in general. And when you combine that with the fact that this anime is speeding through quite a lot of stuff, it really feels like this couple of episodes are rushed. There's some great stuff in them, but they are going so fast you get whiplash from it occasionally.
It does feel like you were sometimes getting the Cliff Notes version of these events, right? I mean, the big thing about episode 7, of course, right, is the confrontation with Doren, the buff tiger man who understands that the only weapons you can rely on are your fists.
Only weapons they can't take away from you.
Exactly. But then also the death, or I guess I guess the big yokai man said, "Well, actually, she's just going to be sleeping for
my
like
girlfriend
100
turned
years.
into a rock."
Yeah, that's rough, buddy.
Oh my god, a giant rock!
Yeah, the functional death of Shakuyaku, right?
Yeah, Shakugan, yeah,
or Shakugan, yes, and it's definitely something like it is meant to like communicate to you, like in the very Mizukami way, like, hey, the stakes are real, right? Like, you know, like this is like this, you know, these characters will be at risk, right? Like they are, you know, these fights are for real. But
it's a very Mizukami play to like the episode before that. We were introduced to Reshin, who is this basically a joke character,
right? The goofy rapping man,
hip hop man who
he's has great. I love him.
Has a bag of swords, and then the next episode, he is suddenly very serious and killing somebody, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I think it's just like the reality is probably like, you know, when you're reading the manga version of these events, you have more time to spend with these characters, and so like you feel a greater sense of like, the adventure they've been on together, and that's why it's such a tragedy what happens to Shakugan.
Yeah, I like it's one of those plot points which is fantastic in theory, and you know, not to use small reference pools, but like the obvious comparison is them killing Kamina like fairly rapidly into Gurren Lagann. But the pace of the show has been so high that I don't really feel we've had much of a chance to get to know Shakugan incredibly well, because I mean, there's been a party of 4, and no offense to the character, she's been the least important, or at least focused on member of this core party of 4 so much. She's kind of just been on the margins since the first few episodes.
It changes, like the pace of the anime makes a change from a like, oh no, our friend has been killed, to a like, oh wow, they're willing to kill a member of the party.
Yeah. It's shocking. Like, it's shocking more in theory than kind of like the emotional body blow I think they're going for.
Yeah. So if I can kind of
go for it,
get into what I was feeling with the pace, and specifically why powering through this was a problem to me. I feel like these episodes ultimately are trying to get us down the road of Shinsuke not sucking, right?
Right. He is embracing.
This is all in the service of his character development,
yes,
right?
His edgy anti-hero arc begins here.
And
the thing is, like, that pivot is so sudden. I was certain.
Yes, that's what I'm trying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they did a good job with this. I'm saying that specifically the fast pace is hurting that part of it. So we dive like out of nowhere. I mean, maybe not totally out of nowhere, but they throw in at the last second the whole, oh, maybe there's something going on between Shakugan and Shinsuke romantically, and conveniently this is just in time for her to be functionally killed off, and that being the inciting incident to him,
going sicko mode,
sicko mode, and completely changing his personality and everything. Which
it's so sudden that I thought they were going to reveal it was a joke after the first 5 minutes of the episode. Right?
Yeah, so like it's a combination of not only are they going fast, but also that's such a I know it's an old manga, but like that's such a tired plot point too. Of like, let's sacrifice the love interest to turn our lame protagonist into whatever direction he's going, and then he like, and then it's like instant like flip a switch. Now he's like edgy. I'm gonna murder everyone.
He's doing the Christian Bale Batman voice.
Yeah. I'm doing the Batman voice. And then it kind of loops back around to like when we do get to the second episode, and he has his fight with Bagman. I can't remember his name at this point. We just said it too, but and he's about to kill him, and he hears Shakugan talking to him, saying, "This isn't really you," and I'm like, "Ow, this is so." It's not only are we blowing through this very quickly, but it's also just like, we've seen this like a million times. Also, there's the me fighting the trying not to be a cynical old man here, but I would have stabbed the guy. Like they just showed him like literally like 5 minutes before saying, "Oh man, guess I'm free to start killing people all over the place again." And I'm like, and like I feel like they're moving him into like a redemption story of some kind as we're kind of learning more about him, and I'm like, I don't know, man. The things just aren't quite coming together for me, and the fact that they're doing them very quickly is not helping it.
Right.
I feel like I have other problems beyond just the pace right now.
I do think Bag Dude just randomly shooting lasers from his mouth is incredibly funny. Like
that was pretty amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I took a screenshot of that in my screenshots. That was pretty amazing. So. And again, like I can see where they're going with Shinsuke, but like at this stage of the process, I'm like, come on, I'm rolling my eyes at it.
I mean, in many ways, like even reading this stuff even reading this character turn in the manga, like there's very much that feeling of like, I trust you, Mizukami. I know you'll figure it out, and he does. If this was
anybody else, I would have dropped it so hard, like at this point. And I don't know. I'm hanging in there though with it.
Mizukami single-handedly justifying every bad trope in manga by showing that they can actually be done well.
Let's not overbuild it. Let's not oversell it. I mean, I don't know. The pacing really messes it up for me. I think I know we just said like the problems are not just the pacing, but like I think the pacing like makes all the other things worse. Around it.
It's an amplifier, right? It takes the problems and magnifies them.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you had the like extra chapter and a half that they cut for time that is more about Shinsuke and Shakugan being part of the crew, right? Then like that helps all of these moments down the line, And I don't know, man. I look at the episode count. I'm like, oh god, oh no. But I don't know. Yeah, Edgelord Shinsuke is not. We did not fully resolve that over the course of one episode. Is what I'll say.
Yeah. So I do want to give a shout out to Shakugan's voice actress, who I've always liked.
She sells it.
Tomio Kurosawa, who
the switching.
I always think of her as Kumiko from Sound Euphonium, but also I think she was Rebecca in Edge Runners.
She was a swindler in Akudama Drive.
Yeah, yep, that's another one. So, and she does a great job here because she's kind of doing two different voices for two different characters, right?
Yeah, she does a good she does a good job of shifting her range.
Yeah, so I did want to shout that out, and like I said, I see the plan. I see a path, the light at the end of the tunnel somewhere that we could get to, but at the moment, these 2 episodes were not doing it for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we got a long way to go. I'm hoping
sure
when we get to the end, I'll have my Mizukami did it again moment. But we got a long way to go. So
sure do.
All right.
Of a show that we're thankfully maybe close to being done with.
Speaking of show with Tomoyo Kurosawa as a main character, yeah. She is Naomi Orthman in
Sure.
Metallic Rouge. Metallic Rouge,
yes.
We
left off.
Were these episodes written by Kimiko Ueno?
No, not even remotely.
Yeah, okay, here's the thing.
No.
I'm looking at I see the words Metallic Rouge on the show notes, and I'm thinking, I'm like, what even happened the past 2 episodes? I'm racking my brain.
I remember. I didn't watch the episodes, but I remember we left off on Naomi betraying.
Yes. So Naomi. Is it even really a betrayal though? It's like they don't really even like. I guess they like kind of imprison Rouge or whatever. They're like, the super androids are too dangerous. We need to like keep an eye on them for their own good or whatever. Then she gets broken out by the white-haired photojournalist lady who, surprise, surprise, is one of the Immortal 9. And breaks Rouge out, and Rouge kind of has like half an episode where she's spending time with the more sympathetic members of the Immortal 9, and it's the whole, we just want to live, we're people too, we're, like, we don't want to be up,
God, right, yeah.
We don't want to be slaves to the Asimov, like, principles.
We watched Blade Runner once.
Yeah, and, it's funny you say that, Zig, because, David Cage famously said that his inspiration for creating Detroit Become Human was watching Blade Runner and saying, what if I made a version of Blade Runner where the androids were the good guys, to which, the world collectively screamed at the most media illiterate man to be given $1 million. But
look, G, if you're going to go for a French accent, you've got to really sell it, okay?
Sure. But it's funny because the thing I have arrived at, this is such a fucking mean thing to say, but I'm going to say it.
Oh no.
Metallic Rouge is the Detroit Become Human of anime.
Come on, it's not that bad.
It's that bad.
I can see it.
It gets that bad in these last 2 episodes.
Rouge looks at the camera and says, I'm going to fight for the order that we have out of my own free will.
Okay, so
right,
so you're going to do the same thing as before, just now.
I need to set this up, right?
Yes.
So the whole point of this, like, the reason why Rouge says that is so she gets to see some of the perspective of the Immortal 9, right? Oh, they're sympathetic, they don't want... Like, the thing about the Immortal 9 is, like, even that, like, evil members of the Immortal 9, it's like, I kind of still understand their issue, right? Because fundamentally what they take issue with is the fact that every Nan in this world essentially has a kill switch, right? Like,
if they disobey the 3 laws, they drop dead immediately.
Like a human doesn't even need to activate it. It is simply under their own action. If they betray any of those 3 laws, they die. We literally see this happen to a Nan who lets a human die through inaction. and apparently even that is enough to trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
switch.
the through-in action part is literally in the text of the 3 laws.
Yes.
So.
Yes, but it's like
it's so blatant that he goes like, "I'm sorry," and then drops dead. Right? Like,
yeah, and it's like, it's like people shouldn't be forced to sacrifice their lives for other people. Like that's not a thing we should enforce into a like race of like a collective of people who like have sapience.
Yes, and so but, it's what like the creator of Neons hid the stuff that stops the Asimov code in the Immortal 9.
Yeah,
that's why we need those orbs.
And then they get into this whole thing of like Rouge's like half brother is like, so you see, Rouge, there's 2 sides to every story. Like, we could give this sapient race of people that we made the same freedoms and liberties that we afford to ourselves.
But just be so complicated.
But think of the complicated, like the chaos that might cause, the ways in which our society might be impacted.
Think about how they would ask for more rights.
Exactly. It's and so, Rouge, you have to choose order or freedom.
Really, it'd just be worse for them if they didn't have this problem.
I took one ethics course in high school, and now I will solve humanity's problems. Energy here,
and that is what makes Rouge's final statement of
we both need both freedom and order.
Not just that, but what she says is, I freely choose to protect order.
Yes.
Oh, so you're a fascist then?
And it's like,
yes, just so
it's so bad,
absurd.
So, by the end of the last,
no, go on, G, go on.
So by the end of the last episode, she is committed fully to defeating the Immortal 9 and siding with the humans.
So
question mark? Yeah.
So basically, these episodes were, do you want to question the purpose that you've been assigned? And the answer was no.
Kinda.
It's baffling.
Why can Bones not make good original shows? Why can they not do it?
I was like screaming this when
it's the monkey's paw, right? Like they traded their ability to make good originals to be able to make like good adaptations, right?
I guess, but man,
I am so baffled by Bones, just their complete inability to write a good, interesting original story.
That just like whenever somebody like wants to team up with Bones, they're possessed by the spirit of Dai Sato, and then he fucking poltergeists their writing.
Yeah,
it's like. It's such a, like, here's the thing, we were already, like, quickly falling out of love with Metallic Rouge. Like, to be clear, like, this is not, like, in many ways, this is just a proverbial straw, but, like, just, like, to, like, hem and haw and, like, meander in this whole, are robots people? And then to arrive at the conclusion, they are, but,
they should stay the underclass.
They're not ready.
All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Literally, they're running the conclusion that we want to free the Neons, but like they're just not ready for it. We need to
work through legal means and non-violent resistance.
Oh man, it's so
fucked up.
For like an industry which was famously up on cyberpunk. Sure seems like modern anime has a real trouble writing good cyberpunk, huh? Right.
I mean, the thing is, like, even a lot of the seminal pieces of anime cyberpunk are like arguably vaguely pro like authority.
Not even vaguely, dude. Yeah.
Like Ghost in the Shell is like. I mean, it's about super cops who don't have to obey the law.
I mean, I would argue that most of Ghost in the Shell's value is like aesthetic and sort of thematic rather than really being a good story.
I did watch Jinro recently, which does have super cool power armor for the evil cops, but is also sort of like it does kind of get to like these guys suck. They're terrible.
To be clear, like, it's not that anime has a dearth of anti-authoritarian themes. It's just that anime cyberpunk has always sort of leaned in, if not pro-authority, then at least like
more on the side of
pro-establishment,
sympathetic to the status quo, I guess.
Yeah. Shout out to Akudama Drive.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
The only way to defeat the system is to burn it all down.
Yeah.
So,
one of the few
Alan Moore's
take that
Akudama
stance.
Drive.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with Metallic Rouge, is that Rouge is going to, I don't know, put the chains back on the Immortal 9, I guess. We'll see how this goes.
Also, Rouge's evil twin sister has appeared, who is blue.
Sure.
Her name is Cyan.
Yeah.
They should make fake credits that call the show Metallic Cyan. The thing is, like, you can see how this happens, right? Like, because you can see in the head of the writing team, it's like, well, we want to add depth and nuance to the debate, so let's do something unexpected, like not having her change her mind. But that, like, there's a reason that stories follow certain structures, right? Like, you can do something different, and that's interesting. But if it makes no sense as a story, then that's worse than doing the boring thing. Does that make sense?
Making new ideas is hard.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying that it's not, but
but no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Also, like, Naomi is just like completely out of the story at this point. Like,
she'll come back at like a key moment.
She will. They're setting up for them to like reunite, but it's been really weird. It's like you like leaned really heavily in the marketing of like pairing these two up, and like the only episodes in which Naomi and Rouge have chemistry are the ones written by Kimiko Ueno.
Right.
I mean, look, like, that's just basic anime, two pretty girls shit, though. Like, that's how every show is.
They had a fun rapport in those episodes.
No, I'm not talking about the Kimiko Ueno episode. Okay. I'm talking about G's statement that they have leaned so heavily on this in the marketing. It's like, of course, you're going to show the two hot girls hanging out as part of your marketing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I'm just so bad. Like, Bones not being able to make good original shows was a meme, and then it just stopped being a meme because it just became true.
It's just true. It's been true since like the foundation of the studio.
They've made one good original. Actually, that's a lie. I liked Hero Man quite a bit, but that was a manga adaptation as well. So actually,
no, Hero Man was an original.
Wait. What is the good Bones original?
I mean, Eureka 7.
Oh, it's not Space. Well, does Space Dandy count as a Bones original?
Waver in Hand.
Yeah,
or like, is that a Shinichiro Watanabe original?
It's difficult, right? Like, we don't want, like, you don't want to attribute everything to Watanabe, but I think it's fair to say that Space Dandy Bones were the workforce for a rotating cast of eclectic creators. I mean, like, I feel like Eureka 7 is the one Bones original which like people generally regard as being good.
We do, anyways.
Well, Iroh doesn't. But,
I turn and look at the camera.
Yeah.
It's fine. Look, I haven't watched Eureka 7 in like 15 years. Maybe it doesn't hold up. I couldn't tell you. Okay,
but yes, like, it's just... It's arguably, like, the thing is that the curse is becoming more interesting than the shows they're making, and that's never a particularly good sign, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, maybe someday, but that day is not today.
Indeed.
All right, well, let's cleanse the palate here. We'll get to our dessert and talk about Bang Bravern. I think these two episodes, I think, was a good example of the full scope of the show, because the first one is a comedy masterpiece, and then the second one is like actually a pretty good like mecha robot show type of episode.
Yeah,
but so the first episode we have like well, they okay. I just need to say this first, because we've captured Superbia, and I don't think I've laughed harder at anything than Superbia getting waterboarded.
It's so funny. Fucking this, it's like they've just turned the CIA man with the Hawaiian shirt into this running joke that this is literally all the CIA knows how to do. Is
like perfect build up to that moment. and perfect escalation. Like when I say comedy masterpiece, this is what I'm talking about. Perfect escalation, perfect timing of when they dropped the joke in. Everything was perfect about that. Like because there's no lead up. They do like smash cut into you're seeing Superbia with getting waterboarded. This giant robot
just like
getting waterboarded.
What a huge
doesn't make any sense
over this robot's head.
So
and
absurd.
The water on it
doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But it was
so
just perfect.
God, that episode. Yeah, so that episode is the one where Superbia comes back and they have to fight Kiridas, I think Tetsuinada, and there's some very good, of course, like the whole like. Bravern keeps slicing Kupiridas in half before he can like finish his like villain speech.
Yeah,
and it turns out that like the death drives can basically respawn pseudo indefinitely as long as their death drive tower is intact. Basically, it's a respawn point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is also how they explain why Superbia is still around, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, just some really good goofy bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
what we get the like thing they use humans as like batteries, right?
Yes, the reveals that every death drive has like a Lulu pod in it.
Mm-hmm.
And because we see the one that gets spat out of Kupiridas, and it's like, they like the whole idea is that the death drives are so powerful because they use up the 80-year lifespan of a human being in the span of like a minute or something, and it's like
so is this a stealth sequel to Darling in the Franxx then?
No, what? How do you even get that?
But no, because there's the thing where Zero Two uses up human beings in that show as well.
Yeah,
but never mind, cut that.
That's
that.
true,
It wasn't a particularly good joke.
Well, it's okay. I mean, there is a scene where Smith is a little too genre savvy for his own good. So they capture, or they quote unquote capture Superbia, the blue rival robot.
Uh-huh.
And Lewis Smith is like, I understand.
This one's for me.
This one's for me. I get it. I'm the Blue Ranger. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Superbia, let's do it. And hops into the cockpit and like gets wrapped up in a bunch of very suggestive looking tentacles before Superbia vomits him back out. And he's covered in a bunch of, I guess, apparently stinky pink goo.
Yeah.
It's very good. God,
yeah.
just
so then we get into the second episode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Smith has assembled the Brave Knights.
Yes, that Smith gets a promotion. He gets his own squad to support Bravern, and he's just fully diving into his love of superhero things.
Yeah,
he's
like
squad, the Brave Knights, as Iro said.
Yeah, he's given a like kind of pseudo Gundam prototype, I guess.
Yeah, which him and Lulu both pilot simultaneously.
Of course.
I cannot tell if this episode confirms or like hard squashes my theories about like Bravern, because like they make a big point about how you see this super prototype Lewis Smith, it reads your brain waves, and I was like, I got it now. All right. Like this robot, this Gundam read Lewis Smith's brainwaves, and that's how we create the stable time loop of how Bravern comes into existence.
Yeah.
And then that kind of, I'm not so sure about that at the end of this episode, because like, get it out right now. Is Lewis Smith actually dead?
No.
Nah, probably not.
I think it's...
Without any knowledge of the circumstances, I'm going to say no.
Because they show that the robot he's fighting
has time manipulation,
some kind of time manipulation thing. So just to catch everybody up, at the end of the episode, he gets to do the very cool thing where he blows his armor off.
Yes,
this little robot lady, he's able to penetrate her with his giant pile drivers.
Yes, like the lady robot is all like, Lewis Smith, you must make love to me. If you don't, I'll keep killing your friends. And Lewis Smith is put in the very difficult situation of, Lewis, you have to fuck this giant evil robot woman or all your friends will die. And Lewis Smith sighs heavily. He's like, damn, I'll take one for the team. I guess I will, in fact, fuck this giant evil robot woman to save my friends.
How terrible for him.
I know.
Hey, I mean, we know Lewis Smith only has eyes for one person on this earth, but
of course, then we find out, well, it's actually that the death drives are so twisted that love is battle to them or something. You know, it's
whatever. Yeah,
it's kind of
some bullshit.
But yeah, he basically blows himself up at the end. Is
to stop her. Yeah, because
to stop
so
her.
He says the thing. He says Yuki Bakatsu.
Yeah, he says bang brave.
Yeah, and I'd have to go back and watch it. I felt like whatever happened could have been also some kind of time portal thing or something.
Yeah, it does it explodes, but then there's the like effect where it gets sucked into one single point, right?
Now, what that means could mean many things, but I do think in some capacity Lewis Smith is still alive somewhere, is basically what I'm getting at. But
sure.
Whether we see him again in the present day or that's how he eventually ends up being Bravern, who knows? We are running out of episodes, so something has to happen in that direction.
You can feel it where, like,
you could definitely feel
last episode they defeat one death drive, and then then episode 8, 3 new death drives appear, right? And it's right, this is one core only.
Yeah, it definitely. I feel like the latest episode. You know, I don't know if I would call it like the weakest episode, but it's definitely the episode that definitely felt the most kind of disjointed. I think it's an issue of both the villain has time control powers, and so you had scenes where like intentionally things would get looped multiple times, but also introducing 3 villains at the same time, and like, you know, they're all kind of stock villainous archetypes, right?
Because at this point it's clear they're all named after the Deadly Sins, right? Yes, and so there's just like this one's vain, right? Like this one's horny, this one's prideful.
You know, and it's
horniness, my least favorite deadly sin. But
so you know, I think with so few episodes left, they probably do need to find a way to wrap things up. And I'm still having a great time with Bravern. I'm definitely still like, you know, its brand of comedy is unmatched, but I am definitely curious how this show is going to decide to try to wrap things up.
My biggest concern, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I still think there's a high enough chance that it will that I'm concerned about it. But my biggest concern is they're going to take the final couple of episodes way too seriously. Like legit, and not for comical purposes, but like actually try to make it like a serious story for the end.
Do you think that there's any chance they end on a cliffhanger and try and parlay a second season?
No.
They might end on a cliffhanger for a joke.
Do a Painstocking season 1 cliffhanger,
right? I guess I meant it more seriously.
I think if they were trying to angle for like getting a second season funded, they would have done some things differently up to this point already. Like, this very much does feel like a story that is intentionally trying to wrap itself up in 11 episodes.
Sure.
For better or worse.
So, I just hope it doesn't lose its sense of humor, because I think that's its strongest point by far. And I don't think it will. But I'm just saying there's a big enough chance that I'm concerned about it.
Shout outs to Lewis Smith being like, Lulu, you can't come with us. You're just a child. You're not brave enough or whatever. And then Lulu like runs away and comes back with a Rambo like headband and the M60 and the ammo belts.
Yes.
It's very good.
Again, the comedy, just chef's kiss. Perfect.
Very good.
So yeah, that's the other very fun half of Brave Dungeon Thursdays. And still enjoying it very much.
Brave Dungeon Thursday, still at it.
Still at it. That's going to do it for this episode. so we can do our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com. Go read my Granblue Fantasy Relink post there. It's the most recent thing we put up there. You can follow us on Twitter still, although I don't know if I will ever update it again, at the Glorio blog, or on co-host at Glorio. You can check us all out individually on co-host as well. We've been posting things, so we mentioned Iro's at Iro. G is yours G-man?
What, on co-host?
Yeah.
I believe I got the hyphen.
Okay.
on
the ground floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just at Gel, and Zig, you're at Dragon Zig, as everywhere else, right?
Although I should really get posting. I've not really posted anything yet.
Yeah. And for the podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, or I guess I should be saying Apple Podcast. I don't know if they even use iTunes for that anymore. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch everybody next time.